Come along with me for my first ever business class flight. Today we're flying from London Heathrow to Singapore Changi Airport. So we're starting off at Heathrow Terminal 5, home of British Airways. So first of all we headed to the Club World check-in, and then after check-in we headed to one of the lounges we could have access to. I think there's about 3 or 4 you can have access to if you're flying Club World or higher. So we had some champagne and a few nibbles whilst watching the planes take off. Here's an Emirates A380 taking off, I'm sure headed to Dubai. As I said, we just had a little snack here of some salad items. It's actually quite good food, to be honest, nothing too fancy. After a fairly relaxing time in the airport lounge, it was time to head over to the gate. Today our plane was taking off from the C gate, so we had to head down the escalators and get on the shuttle over to the B and C gates. Here is quite a cool but kind of creepy feature of a kind of 3D hologram of a lady saying which side the next train is going to be. I think didn't have to wait too long, and then we're headed over to our aircraft. Our plane today taking us over to Singapore Airport for the next 13 and a half hours is a 10-year-old British Airways Airbus A380 that was delivered back in October of 2014. As you can see, it's a double-decker Airbus A380. I've actually never been on an A380 before, so I was very, very excited. After a short wait at gate C55, it is time to board our BA11 flight to Singapore. So today we're sitting on the upper deck in seats 59 Alpha and 59 Bravo. So we enter via the upper door, thankfully to a very minimal queue, and then we are first greeted with our business class seats. Now these seats, for context, cost us £244 just to sit next to each other, but here is a first glimpse of the seat. I'll show you around a bit more in a minute. But first things first, let's have a pre-departure glass of champagne whilst Emily shows you what is in the white company amenity kit you get in Club World on this specific route. So we start off with a pulse point cream that you're meant to put, and it's meant to help you go to sleep. I did use it and I did sleep, so who knows. Then we have the standard earplugs, followed by a little card just explaining what is in the amenity kit, then followed up by a lip balm and a moisturizer. All of these things are from the white company, by the way, so very nice quality, and they did smell very nice. And then we end up with the classic flight socks and eye mask, which both seemed of quite good quality, to be honest, and did use them both when we went to sleep. Probably aided us getting a few hours, and then ended with the toothbrush and the toothpaste. So just before we were about to take off, we were presented with this menu, fairly extensive considering I've only ever flown economy, but I'm sure it's nothing compared to the likes of Emirates and Etihad, but still a fairly good selection of food and beverages. And just on time at 7:37, it's time to push back and get on our way to Singapore. The flight safety video is shown, and I have to say I do actually really like this video, and it was also slightly a bit weird going backwards, but once you're in the air you didn't really realise it, to be honest. So today we were taking off on runway 27 left off to Singapore. So the flight time today is about 13 and a half hours. It's the longest flight me and my girlfriend have ever done. So whilst we taxi, line up and take off, let me talk you through how we've paid for this flight. So we've paid a total of 1,060 Great British pounds, 131,000 Avios and 1 premium companion voucher. Now I would just like to caveat that this is for the return journey as well, so we're returning in about 4.5 weeks in economy. So this is not just the price for the One World in Club World, this is including the economy return. We were taking this flight over to Singapore to then go and start 5 weeks travelling around Thailand, Singapore and Vietnam. And we were very excited. This is just before my girlfriend was about to start as a doctor, and I just had some time off work. I know it's a lot of money and a lot of 1,000 Avios, but I did get quite a few Avios from when I've referred friends to credit card, and also using things like the BA e-store to make sure you're getting as many Avios per pound as you can. Now let's take a look around the seat themselves. These are the old Club World seats. They have this divider that goes up in between you and your neighbour. It'd be a bit awkward if you didn't know your neighbour. These can only go up after takeoff and have to come back down before landing. As you can see here, we've chosen these seats specifically because I, in the window, do not have to cross over anyone to get out, and obviously Emily has also direct aisle access. In most of the other seats you have to climb over someone's foot when it's in a lie flat position. That's why we specifically chose these seats at the back of the top cabin. Now this is the IFE screen that pops out like this. It did kind of fall back a few times. It was also quite outdated and quite clunky, to be honest. I know the British Airways A380s are getting a refurb, but they kind of need them to happen now. The reason we chose the upper deck here on the A380 is because they had these side bins, which is great for storing all of your personal items. Otherwise, all you would get is this little drawer down here if you're downstairs or in the middle of these seats. So definitely go for the upper deck if you can. Now you are provided with some noise cancelling headphones. They weren't too bad to be honest, but we did bring our own, which we preferred using. They were nothing terrible, but they just weren't anything amazing. A lot better than the ones you get in economy, just the earbuds. And now it's time to re-watch the latest Hunger Games, which I really enjoyed, and it's also about 3 hours, so good to kill 3 of those 13 hours. Now we're at altitude and cruising on our way over to Singapore. Let's go and have a look at the bathroom on this A380. And as you can see, it is actually very, very spacious. This is because it's a wide body jet and much bigger than their narrow 777s. Also some kind of premium amenities in here, which is always great to see. And there's also this nice little cushion spot over here if you want to get changed into some slippers or whatever. But you have to bring those yourself, as BA don't provide any kind of pyjamas or slippers. I couldn't help but take a video of the stairs on the plane. I've never seen stairs on a plane. It doesn't feel that big though when you're on it. It just feels like any other wide body jet, but it was mad to think that there was another couple hundred people downstairs. Shortly after we were at altitude, the crew came round and asked what drink I would like, so I went for the Johnny Ginger, which is a whiskey based cocktail, and I do have to say it did really hit the spot. And then the sun started to set as we were heading east, and we took off rather late, so it was already getting dark in the east of Europe. And then it was time for dinner, so you have this mini tray table that then folds out to a much larger tray table for your dinner service. I have to say it was quite large, not the sturdiest thing in the world, but it was definitely big enough for what you needed it to be and for dinner, and it was quite stylish in the way that it just kind of went away when you needed it to. So before dinner I chose my drink for the meal and I went with the Pinot Noir red wine. I do think Tony wanted to get me to sleep by keep topping it up, so I do appreciate that. Now to start today I went with the poached prawn salad, which to be fair was very nice. Hit the spot, the prawns were very nice. Whilst Emily went for the mozzarella salad. In terms of what you get with it, you do actually get metal cutlery, a nice glass of water. It does feel very premium compared to the plastic trays you get in economy. So on the tray came this kind of beetroot dish, which I wasn't a massive fan of, but I tried some of it, but it wasn't all that amazing. So I just carried on with the main part of the starter whilst continuing to watch the Hunger Games. For the main tonight I went for the chicken whilst Emily went for the cod, and I do have to say they were both very nice. I do think I preferred the cod, but the chicken did have a very good flavour. Like I said, very full, very hearty, a massive step up from economy, but I'm sure it's nothing on the Singapore Airlines chicken satays, for example, or the fact that you can get steak in the air. But it was very hearty and it did fill me up nicely. We were quite stuffed by this point, so we did share the chocolate dessert, which again was very nice. After dinner and at least half a bottle of red wine, it was time to go and get ready for bed. So I headed to the big bathroom and brushed my teeth, and then it was time to get changed out of my clothes into what I'd brought as pyjamas to get ready for bed. Like I said, BA don't provide any pyjamas, so I would advise bringing some comfy clothes that you can get changed into ready for bed. The seat itself does lie flat, and you have to keep holding this button for about maybe 30 seconds to a minute, but eventually you will get there. And as you can see here, this is what the bed looks like fully extended. They do give you a little topper as well as a duvet and a very, very nice pillow indeed. So here is me wrapped up, all ready to get some sleep. And although it was quite difficult still to sleep on the plane, I reckon I did get at least 6 hours. And what a wake up this is. The amazing flight attendant Tony had handed me a bottle of champagne as I told him my girlfriend had just graduated and passed as a doctor, and he said enjoy this from the British Airways crew. What an amazing way that was to wake up. As soon as I woke up, the attentive flight attendants asked if I'd like a cup of tea or coffee, and they brought over this mini croissant, some fresh fruit and my lovely cup of English breakfast tea. And then I went for the full English and the yogurt, which I do have to say was actually very nice. And then before I know it, we were told to put our bed back in the upright position and then get ready for landing into Singapore Changi Airport. Honestly, that 13.5-hour flight flew by. It's probably something to do with being in Club World and the half a bottle of red wine that Tony gave us last night, putting me to sleep. But honestly, the crew were amazing, Tony going the extra mile, giving us that bottle of champagne. They definitely didn't need to do that. Yes, the product is a bit outdated, but to be honest with you, the seats were very comfy, probably because they are a bit older. Found typically with newer planes and trains, the seats tend to be a bit harder because they're made from less material, the older ones being a bit more cushioned. And here we are landing into Singapore Changi Airport, my first time ever in Asia. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed coming along with me on my first ever business class flight.